A scathing report from the U.S. Helsinki Commission accuses Russia of launching hybrid attacks on NATO territory. It claims that since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, sabotage operations across North America and Europe have intensified. And if true, how has Moscow managed to target NATO and the West single-handedly despite severe sanctions? Our next report getting you the details.
Putin is allegedly waging a shadow war in UK, Europe and the US. A report by the US Helsinki Commission describes how Russia has been orchestrating on the West critical infrastructure attacks, violence campaigns, weaponized migration and election interference and information campaigns. To visualize the breadth of the Kremlin's efforts, officials have mapped nearly 150 hybrid operations it says have been executed in NATO territory. But why would Moscow target NATO? To answer this question, the report says Russia's active measures against NATO countries are calculated efforts to undermine democratic values, sow distrust within free societies, and destabilize the alliance's resolved unity. It says NATO represents a direct obstacle to Moscow's imperial ambitions. The report has identified hybrid warfare attacks on critical infrastructure attributed and suspected of Russia. This includes GPS signal jams, cyber attacks on hospitals, railway disruptions, and other sabotage on infrastructure systems. The Helsinki Commission blames Russia for widespread GPS jamming affecting flights across Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Germany, Poland, and the Baltics in 2023. It also held Moscow accountable for jamming of the GPS signal of a plane carrying the British Defence Minister in March this year. A particularly heinous tactic deployed by Russia and Belarus is the weaponization of migrants. In November 2023, Finland closed its border with Russia following a surge of border crossings believed to be instigated by Russia. In the summer of 2024, Poland saw a surge to nearly 400 illegal border crossings a day. The report alleges election interference is a hallmark of Russia's hybrid warfare. Spreading false narratives and funding candidates sympathetic to Moscow are ubiquitous tactics. In March 2024, Czech and Belgian officials uncovered a massive Russian propaganda network spread across Europe, attempting to influence European Parliament elections, including efforts to bribe EU lawmakers to promote Kremlin rhetoric. The report admits that failing to fully support Ukraine's defense only emboldens Russia to continue its hybrid attacks. It says NATO must take the shadow war seriously, treating these operations as real and present threats to the alliance's security, and NATO must take decisive actions to support Ukraine. If this report is accurate, Russia is capable of challenging this formidable alliance, despite facing crippling sanctions. Reports say Moscow has been hit with over 22,000 sanctions from Western nations, making it the most sanctioned country in the world. These sanctions extend beyond individuals and firms, including Russia's removal from the SWIFT payment system. However, Russia has successfully bypassed these restrictions through innovation, leaving NATO dismayed. Experts argue that the so-called powerful US-led bloc is now ineffective and merely playing catch-up. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
And shifting our focus now to some interesting details coming in from the Pentagon's 2024 report on China's military development. The report, Military and Security Developments Involving the People's Republic of China, basically highlights how China is surging ahead as far as naval power is concerned. That's one of the key takeaways, perhaps leaving America grappling with an industrial and strategic disadvantage. You see, the Pentagon reiterated that China's Navy, already the largest in the world, is expanding at an unprecedented rate with 370 ships and submarines. Currently, the fleet is projected to grow to 395 by 2025 and 435 by 2030. And this expansion is not just about numbers, you see. It's also a major reflection of China's massive shipbuilding capacity. As per reports, leaked US Navy intelligence estimating China's shipbuilding output to be 232 times greater than America's. Just think about that. For every vessel the United States produces, China churns out 232. The Pentagon's report further underscoring the sophistication of China's naval fleet. Among the 370 ships, over 140 are major surface combatants equipped with modern multi-mission capabilities. And these include advanced guided missile cruisers, destroyers, frigates. Now, this is not just any primitive navy, of course. It's perhaps a navy designed for precision strikes and long-term missions. The report further highlighting the construction of China's new amphibious assault ship, and that the country has already started the construction of a landing helicopter assault ship equipped with electromagnetic catapults for UAVs. While the country's third aircraft carrier, the Fujian, has entered sea trials and is expected to be operational by 2025. Let's just compare this with the state of American shipbuilding. As per reports, China's shipyards boast a capacity exceeding 23.2 million tons compared to less than 100,000 tons for the United States. Reportedly, the capabilities of US shipyards have seen a downfall since the 1980s. US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan reportedly called this decline a quote-unquote generational project to fix, citing a weakened industrial base and the loss of skilled labor as critical challenges. Raja Krishnamurthy, a member of the House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party, put it bluntly. Early this month, he said that for every ocean-going vessel the US builds, China builds 359. Let that sink in. An imbalance that in a way invites aggression, according to Krishnamurthy, and leaves America vulnerable in a future conflict with China. The Pentagon's report does not just outline China's growing naval prowess, it also highlights the strategic leverage that it provides. As per the report, Chinese naval vessels are increasingly conducting operations in foreign exclusive economic zones, challenging international norms and asserting dominance, projecting power into the waters of nations like the US, the Philippines, Australia, Vietnam, Malaysia. What does all of this mean for America? Is it a wake-up call? Even worse than that, perhaps? Does this mean that it's lost out on crucial time already? According to experts, strengthening the US shipbuilding industry requires investment, policy changes, and a commitment to rebuilding the industrial base. But the clock is ticking, and for America, every move counts right now. India's space agency ISRO is all set for its final mission of the year 2024. This is the much-awaited space docking experiment. This is a mission that is crucial for India's future space endeavors like Chandrayaan-4 and the Indian Space Station. You see, space docking is a highly sophisticated feat that has been accomplished only by entities from the US, Russia, Europe, and China. The Indian-made twin SpaceX satellites, weighing 220 kg each, are to be placed in orbit by the Indian workhorse PSLV rocket. The vehicle is to lift off from the first launch pad of the Indian spaceport Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota from India's southeast coast. The rocket launch is scheduled for 10 p.m. Indian Standard Time tonight, in just a short while from now. Almost 15 minutes after the launch, in fact, the satellites will separate from the rocket. They will be placed in an orbit that is 470 kilometers above planet Earth. Now, in addition to space docking, this mission also carries 24 space experiments developed by ISRO and Indian space startups. After the satellites are ejected, the final stage of the rocket will be used as a platform to host these experiments in space for a couple of months.
Space docking experiment, or SpaceX, which is the most sophisticated space experiment that India will be carrying out in an orbit very close to the Earth. Almost 15 minutes after the 10 p.m. liftoff, these satellites will be hurled into 470-kilometer orbit above the Earth. And from there, these satellites will be ejected at a speed of almost 28,000 kilometers per hour. And thereon, these satellites will grow further from each other. They'll actually move far apart. They'll be almost 20 kilometers apart as we progress. And over the next 6 to 10 days, what will take place is that these satellites will maneuver in such a way autonomously that they reduce the distance between them. They'll initially be 20 kilometers apart, and they'll almost come within touching distance over a week's time. And then both these satellites will autonomously dock with each other. And once they dock, they'll test their onboard systems. After testing their onboard systems, these satellites will completely grow apart, and then they will undock and they'll perform their respective roles of imaging the Earth.